All right, sorry for the delay, everyone. So it's 7 to open session for our meeting. So we'll go ahead and start off with our Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. Allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. We do not have anyone for invocation tonight. We'll have introduction and roll call. So this.
Mr. Gallagher?
Here.
Dr.
Here.
Mr. Nate Blackwood?
Present.
Mr. David Montemayor?
Here.
Ms. Marissa Myers?
Here.
Mr. Alejandro Flores?
Here.
And not present, Mr. Jason Olson and Mr. Billy Amigo.
Perfect. Moving on to our superintendent spotlight.
All right, President Montemayor and board members, at this time I'd like to ask our deputy superintendent to come up, and we're going to recognize some amazing students. And this is something we have been planning on doing for quite a while. We started last month. Obviously with COVID, it really put things on the back burner, but this is, in my opinion, my favorite part of board meetings is being able to recognize students. So board members, I'll enjoy everything we do, but this is the most fun part. So, Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Board of Trustees, Superintendent Gallagher, thank you very much for this time. I do like to say, as you did, that looking out across the crowd this evening, this is a great honor to be able to do this, and it is, in fact, one of our best times in being able to celebrate the greatness of our students. So with that being said, we are going to move into our Star Awards, Superintendent Star Awards, and that is for our elementary campuses. And so elementary students, as I call your name, please come to the front, and we have an incredible little trophy for you. And we will take a quick picture, and then all of the Star Award winners, please stay up here at the front, and we'll take a group picture as well, okay? So without further ado, our Superintendent Star Awards for the month of May. From Brent Elementary, we have Savannah, I'm sorry, my printing's so small. We have Savannah Price. All right, from Chavez Elementary, we have Jeremiah J. Arkerful. Here we go. Come on down, Jay. Congratulations. There we go. All right, congratulations, Jay. From Hackberry Elementary, we have Riley Deason. From Lakeview Elementary, we have Emery Sabulka. From Oak Point Elementary, we have Reese Obasoji. And from Prestwick Elementary, we have Eli Chanjuenza. And so I think one thing I would like to say about this group of students, again, this is our second group for the Superintendent Star Award. And as we take the group picture, when I read all of the comments from our campus administrators, words such as citizenship, students with empathy, very kind, very respectful. And so this group of students represent those characteristics. And so we're extremely proud of them. And how about another round of applause? Thank you, guys. Okay, now moving into our middle school student recognition program from Strike Middle School. We do this a little differently. We have a representative from that campus come up and talk about that particular student that has won our monthly student recognition. And so I have Miss Chelsea Guerra from Strike Middle School.
Good evening. I am honored to present our Strike Strong Student of the Month to Miss Lily Webb. Lily is active in athletics and cheer and is a section leader for our varsity Bacanto choir. She is also one of our most faithful soccer concession stand volunteers and is always eager to help her teachers and her peers. She does all of this while maintaining high grades in her honors and high school level courses. Her teachers say that she is simply amazing and approaches everything that she does with a positive attitude. Teachers never hesitate to give Lily leadership roles and responsibilities because she constantly exhibits our core values of excellence, integrity, respect, and compassion. Lily shines bright in all aspects of life, and we are delighted to award her Student of the Month for Strike Middle School. Lily Webb, come on up.
But I think we want you to stand.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Ms. Guerra. Moving on to Walker Middle School, we have Ms. Kelly Carr, principal at Walker Middle School, and she is making her way down to talk about their Student of the Month.
Good evening. I'm Mrs. Carr, the principal of Walker Middle School, and this is one of our fantastic Spanish teachers, Mrs. Rivas. We are here to celebrate Walker's May Student of the Month. I will let Mrs. Rivas take it from here, and then I'll come back and translate.
Good evening. Thank you, Mrs. Carr. So, primeramente, le quería presentar a la directora. Ella es la señora Carr, directora de nuestra escuela, y yo soy la maestra Rivas, maestra de Cristian también. Y estamos aquí para celebrar a Cristian como alumno ejemplar en la escuela de Walker. Y primeramente les quería mencionar que Cristian es un estudiante fantástico que ejemplifica los 4 valores básicos que componen nuestras 4 casas de la escuela secundaria de Walker, que vienen siendo integridad, compasión, respeto y excelencia. Es un alumno que trabaja duro y que demuestra valor y determinación al dominar cada tarea que se pone delante de él. Y es esta determinación que lo distingue como los demás estudiantes, los distingue de los demás estudiantes de su edad. Se dice que Cristian es un alumno responsable, amable y siempre tiene una actitud positiva. Ha sido un verdadero placer ser su maestro estos 3 años, y eso es lo que dice un entrenador, el señor Ben Jameson. Otro maestro dice, Cristian es un estudiante y persona excelente. Él siempre completa su trabajo a tiempo y con precisión. Además, Cristian siempre está dispuesto a ayudar a otros estudiantes que estén teniendo dificultades para comprender algún concepto. Él trabaja con ellos hasta que entiendan. Por estos motivos, Cristian merece ser el estudiante del mes. Y eso lo dice el señor Mr. Hoffman. Y por último, Cristian, pues yo te digo a ti que tú muestras integridad, respeto, excelencia en mi salón de clase y también en la forma en cómo se comporta en la escuela, y al tratar la manera en cómo él trata a los demás compañeros en la clase, en la escuela. Siempre completa su trabajo a tiempo, demostrando así que es un joven muy responsable. Y claramente pues se ve que él está tomando buenas decisiones en su vida. Y pues todos estamos muy orgullosos de Cristian y estamos ansiosos de oír las buenas cosas, el éxito que él va a tener en la escuela secundaria más adelante. Bueno, pues gracias y buenas noches.
So Christian, if you'll head up here while I start talking to him. Here, come on up. There we go. From Mrs. Rivas. There he is. Come on up. From Mrs. Rivas, Christian displays integrity, respect, and excellence in my classroom and in school. He always completes his work on time and is a very responsible young man and makes great choices in his life. Christian is a fantastic student who exemplifies all the 4 core values that make up our 4 houses at Walker Middle School: integrity, compassion, respect, and excellence. He's an extremely hard worker whose grit and determination to master every task put before him sets him apart from many other students his age. That's from Coach Jameson. And from Mr. Hoffman, Christian is an excellent student in person. He is always completing his work on time. In addition, Christian is always willing to help other students that are struggling, understanding a concept. He works with them until they understand. Christian deserves to be the student of the month. We are so proud of you, Christian, and we wish you the best at high school.
Mr. Gallagher, if I could, one last thing. I don't want to forget about the parents and guardians of these incredible students. So Superintendent Star Award, as well as the middle school student recognition. If you are here, please stand up and be recognized this time for your support and your love, parents and guardians. Thank you.
Mr. Roberts, are you finished? I think we have high school next. Oh, well, I was gonna, is Dr. Purdy here?
Yeah, here she is.
Oh, Dr. Purdy, here she is, okay. So Dr. Purdy is our high school principal. She's here to recognize Students of the Month for our high school.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Thank you, Board President and Little Elm ISD School Board. I'm here to present Little Elm High School Students of the Month for both April and May, and we have 3 seniors to recognize junior tonight. Our student is Garrett Smith. Come on up, Garrett. Garrett is one of our Students of the Month for April. Garrett has attended Little Elm schools for all 4 years of high school. He stayed busy challenging himself with AP classes and is involved in academic UIL and National Honor Society. I'm especially proud of Garrett because he recently nominated 2 of his teachers, Mrs. Gaston and Mrs. Brown, for recognition by the United States Navy. They came out and presented them a plaque and everything. It was very special. Garrett's appreciation of his teachers is one of the many things that sets him apart from his peers. He is truly appreciative of the hard work of educators, and he lets them know. His teachers are thankful to have him as a student and use many of the same adjectives to describe him: leader, positive, happy, brilliant, confident, and well-spoken. Ms. Gaston said that Garrett is a class act. He is brilliant, but more importantly, he is a great human being. He is kind, funny, and goofy. And she did put goofy, didn't I? I appreciate how hard he works and how he brings joy and laughter wherever he goes. Garrett finished in the top 10 of his class this year. He is joining the United States Navy and will train within the nuclear engineering field. After his time in the Navy, Garrett plans to attend the University of Texas at Austin to major in chemistry or computer engineering. And we are so thankful for Garrett and for his commitment to our country. And we wish him the best. And his parents are here, and if his parents would stand and be recognized as well. Our next student of the month is Cadence Hernandez. Cadence, come on up. Cadence is a junior, so she's our one junior. So we're graduating 3 wonderful students, but y'all are keeping 1, okay? All right, Cadence is a junior at Little Elm High School, and she's our second student of the month for April, and she has attended Little Elm schools since pre-K. She is a varsity softball player, and she is one of our athletic trainers. She is also a member of HOSA and National Honor Society. Cadence stays busy with lots of AP classes and dual credit classes while also managing her extracurricular schedule. Cadence's favorite thing about Little Elm High School is the people she has met through the years at school and the memories that she has made with them. Cadence is well thought of by her teachers. Ms. Santa, her AP English teacher, said that Cadence Hernandez is probably the ultimate example of what it means to be a Lobo, displaying characteristics of honesty, integrity, positivity, and humility. She is the kind of person that makes the people around her want to do more, reach higher, and be better, not because she judges them from a vantage point of great skill in athletics or academics, but because she is someone who loves and sees the best in other people. All of Cadence's teachers echoed similar accolades. She is bright, thoughtful, competitive, trustworthy, and a leader among her peers. Cadence still has another year to figure out where she wants to go to college, but she knows she wants to play softball and major in kinesiology and then go to physical therapy school. Congratulations, Cadence. And her mom and dad are with her tonight. Indiana. Can you stand and be recognized? Okay, and our next student is Isaiah Hernandez. Come on up, Isaiah. I'm gonna give you a lot of good stuff about Isaiah, but I need to also let you know that I was Isaiah's dad's teacher. I was his science teacher. So if you need like a check on how old you are, when one of your high school students' parents comes to you and says, "Oh, you're my teacher at Plano East," he was a good student. So, all right. So Isaiah Hernandez is one of our May students of the month. Isaiah is a senior, and he will be graduating and leaving us at the end of this week. Isaiah has attended Little Elm schools for the last 10 years. And at the high school, he has stayed very busy as a member of the football team and the wrestling team. This year, he was selected as one of our CUTX student interns. Isaiah has appreciated the privileges and the opportunities that he has been given while being a student in Little Elm ISD. Teacher after teacher stated that Isaiah is a great student and a pleasure to have in class. Isaiah is a role model for other students for the kindness and respect that he shows others every day. I have had the pleasure of teaching and coaching Isaiah for 3 years. Isaiah is a hard worker and not afraid to take on a challenge. And on top of that, he is such a respectful young man. Isaiah has demonstrated to us what we like our Lobo student athletes to be in our community. Isaiah will make us proud as he goes into our community to become a productive citizen in our society. Recently, Isaiah signed with Presbyterian College to play football, and he will major in marketing and finance. We are all confident in Isaiah and his future and look forward to seeing his success. Congratulations. And his parents are with him tonight, too. Y'all would stand and please be recognized. I think his dad looks really young. Very young. Okay, and next we have Trinity Bridges. Trinity, you'll come up. Trinity is our second student of the month for May. Trinity is also a senior at Little Elm High School this year, and she will be graduating this Friday. Trinity has attended Little Elm School since her sophomore year. Trinity was selected as a student of the month because she has impressed all of our front office staff with her kindness. Trinity welcomes new students to the district. She provides a great first impression of Little Elm New Lobos, and she also tries to teach them how the rooms are numbered. It's a challenge to our new Lobos, and she also tries to teach them how the rooms are numbered. It's a challenge. Trinity is also one of our advanced culinary arts students, and being in the kitchen is her favorite thing about her experience at Little Elm. Ms. Hood, her culinary arts teacher, had this to say: Trinity always responds in a positive light. She embodies truth, goodness, and beauty by her actions and reactions to everyday situations. I believe this provides her the space to live in the present moment and gain insight as well as capture growth opportunities. She provides a welcoming and open-minded attitude, which also gives those around her with the freedom to experience growth. And Coach Alvin Jackson said that Trinity is the sweetest student. She comes to class every morning ready to learn. Trinity is always ready to engage in conversation, willing to help out a fellow Lobo. Trinity will definitely make us proud when she goes out into the community and is a good citizen and contributes to our society as a great young lady. After graduation, Trinity will attend Oral Roberts University this fall and major in entrepreneurship. Congratulations, Trinity. And her mom and dad are both here, if you would stand. Yes.
Dr. Purdy, thank you so much. And and again, that is truly the best part of the board meeting, is to be able to celebrate these wonderful students. And Dr. Purdy, you're correct. Your former student does look young. So next, I'd like to ask our Director for Fine Arts, Mr. Frank Felice, to come up for a fine arts recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher, Board of Trustees. I have the privilege of recognizing several of our fine arts students this evening who have qualified for a state level event or has won something at a state level. So tonight I'm going to start with our band members. Is Mrs. Sturch here this evening? I haven't seen her, but okay. So we have 3 band students who have qualified for the UIL State Solo and Ensemble Contest. To do this, they had to perform a Class 1 solo. There are basically 3 classifications, with 1 being the most challenging. They had to receive a superior rating, and they had to play the piece from memory. And to do all of that to advance to the state level. So tonight we have 3 students. If we can just hold our applause until they come up together. Let's see, is Adria Sari here? Adria, come on up. Next is Benjamin Whitaker. Benjamin, come on up. And Alexavia Paz. Is Alexavia here? All right. All right. Next, I'm going to ask our choir directors from the high school, Mrs. Adams and Miss Lewis, if they will come up and assist me with this. We have several choir members who've also advanced to the state level solo and ensemble contest. And so we've got several people to recognize here. Let me see if I get all of them. Here we go. And we'll start with those that are advancing to the state contest as a soloist. Miss Tia Davis, come on up. Tia. And next would be Araline Ginn. Next is Keller Bagby. And next is Patricia Cruz Escobar. The next group of students we have coming up advanced to the state contest as an ensemble or in an ensemble. Malik Ahmed, Edgar Barbosa, Destiny Crook, Katana McClellan, Evan Reza, and then the following members advanced in both a solo and an ensemble. Gracie Miller, Michael Reyes, Ava Herrera, Julia Wilson, Eli Miller, and Harrison Miller. I know the Millers couldn't be here this evening, but they have three children in the same family, all advancing to the state level contest. Great kids, very musical family. So congratulations to our choir students. Oh yeah, y'all get in there. Go ahead and get in. Congratulations. And next we have some students that advanced to the state vase competition, which is the art competition. And just to give you an idea about these students, over 31,000 students start at the region level competing for the state vase competition, and about less than 2,000 of them actually advance. Out of 31,000, less than 2 advance to the state level. So these students advance to the state level. First is Andrea Salamanca. Next is Kiera Clements. Next is Catherine Kangarati. And finally, Alex Geiser. And actually, if I could have Mr. Amelia and Miss Sutherland come up and help for just a second, because I want to tell you just a little bit more about these students. The two of the students whose names I called out, Catherine Kangarati and Kiera Clements, also received a state medallion. Also received a state medallion at the state contest, vase contest. And we had one student, Alex Geiser, who as a junior not only won a state medallion, but she placed in the top 0.5% by receiving the highest rating on her sculpture that the state gives, as well as receiving that gold seal. And out of 31,000 people that start the process, 150 receive a gold seal, and Alex did that, so congratulations. Thank you very much. Catherine, I'm going to ask you to stay right up there. Catherine, I want to talk about Catherine too. We also have a yearly art contest that's held by the state representative, Michael Burgess, and it's the Congressional Art Contest. It's a statewide contest where people send in their artwork, and Catherine Kangarati won Best of School from Little Elm ISD. So congratulations, Catherine. And I'm going to have come up beside her, Geraldi Morales. Is Geraldi here tonight? Yes, come on up, please. Geraldi, yep. For the first time in our school history, Geraldi was announced statewide the grand prize winner for the Congressional Art Contest. Yep. If you look up on the screen, you'll see her drawing she titled Acceptance. Yes, that is a drawing. Pretty amazing. Congratulations, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Felice. And again, congratulations to all these students. Impressive and really amazing, their dedication. So fine arts, from fine arts to academics. I would like to ask our Director for Curriculum and Learning, Mr. Doug Sevier, to come up. And we have a big celebration for STEM. And I'll kind of lead into this. When I first came to the district, we had one campus that was a STEM campus. And yeah, we'll wait for just a minute. Let y'all, thank y'all again for coming. Yeah, you're welcome to stay the entire board meeting. There we go. So when I came to the district, we had one campus that was a STEM campus. It was Prestwick STEM Academy. And one of the things that we really, the board and myself, we talked about, how can we expand this so no matter what zip code you live in Little Elm or Little Elm ISD, you will be guaranteed a great education. And we are very proud to say that all of our campuses are now STEM certified campuses. So at this point, Mr. Sevier, I'm going to let you take it away.
Thank you. President Montemayor, Superintendent Gallagher, and members of the board. Tonight, I'm just honored to be here to celebrate the work of all the campuses, especially 3 campuses who are our final 3 to earn the STEM Certification Award. As we begin this, I also wanted to take the time to recognize a few people, but also recognize the journey that Mr. Gallagher mentioned at the beginning. So we'll start with just a small recognition. First, I'd like to recognize Jennifer Culver. She is our Director for Science here, elementary and secondary. And she has truly provided the leadership and the training to support all the campuses over these past several years. Through many compliments that I've received regarding the work from what she has provided for teachers and administrators, I know the vital role that she played in the success of the journey that we've been on. So again, thank you for all the work that you've done. Next, I'd like to recognize Christy Gibson. Christy, if you'd stand up real quick. She has been leading on the side for the past 2 years, and really what she's provided to the schools and the principals is a unique perspective as a sitting principal, which allowed her to offer support for our decisions and how they would impact the campuses that we're trying to earn this certification. So again, thank you for all the work that you've done on top of being a principal, but also helping about 7 schools now, 6 or 7 schools get their certification. So thank you for all the work you've done. So again, as Mr. Gallagher stated earlier, I want to go back and kind of look at the historical perspective of where we started. So up here, you can see a timeline. We're back in the fall of 2014, Prestwick STEM Academy opens up, and that's where our journey for STEM really began. But then you can see in 2017, 2018, there was a district-wide emphasis on we need to provide some equity and get every school, every kid to experience some of the STEM activities that we're providing. And that's where our committee came together and we formed this group to say, okay, how are we going to do this for every school, every kid? Then in 2018, 2019, we began with our STEM kits, and we really looked at our 4th and 5th grade students. How do we get them ready for what they might experience in middle school and then moving on into high school? After that, we really thought about how can we raise the capacity of the teachers? What do we need to do to really not just provide materials, but provide the learning and the support and the staff development that they need? And that's where we really came up with this nice campus certification. And it was really just a charge from Mr. Gallagher to look and see how can we make every campus get the access and the support that they needed for kids to get this STEM education. So really we looked at Hackberry, Prestwick, and that was the first 2. And we certified 17 teachers, and that got us our first 2 campuses that were nationally certified. Next, we brought in Brent, Chavez, Strike, and Walker. And Strike and Walker were really our big push that year because, again, bringing in 2 new middle schools, we wanted to make sure that both campuses and all students had the equity to bring up that idea of what STEM meant in the middle school. So again, 4 teachers were there, and we certified 48 teachers that year. Next, in 21-22, which is this past year, we finally certified our last 3 teachers, and it has nothing to do with what they did. It was just a progress that we made and chose campuses along the way. But this year we brought in Lakeview, Oak Point, and Little Elm High School. And again, we certified 72 teachers, and we were the first district in the state to have every campus in our district certified for STEM after this year. So a big round of applause for everyone who took part in that. So next year, what we're going to be looking at 22-23 is we want to be the first district in the state to be certified at the district level. And so we're going to be beginning that process, and Hackberry and Prestwick will begin to recertify as a campus. And you can see there, we'll certify 72 more teachers this following year. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Culver to kind of talk about some of the other steps that we can see through this training.
So if you need a graphic representation of the teachers in Little LEISD, we are growing every year and certifying 72 teachers who have taken on this challenge with me to go through 38 individual indicators to look through their classroom. While we think this is just a certification and a rubber stamp, when we ask the teachers what it means to them, one of recently, Oak Point teacher came up to me after the certification ceremony and said, this was the best professional development she's ever had, because, and she was a veteran teacher, not a new teacher, because it made her really reflect upon her teaching and implement it immediately into the classroom. Now, while we think that's great for teachers, what about students? So it does impact our students. I was walking out of Brent just after a full day meeting with teachers, meeting with students, and a parent was walking up to me and she goes, after a full day meeting with teachers, meeting with students, and a parent was walking up to me and she goes, hey, you work at school? I said, yes, ma'am. I didn't tell her what I did or what I do at part one amazing community, but she goes, let me just show you this. And she bragged about how amazing her son is invested into the STEM stuff that he is doing every day just because he can problem solve. It gives him that time to problem solve. Working with Oak Point as they got certified this year, the teachers and the students were talking about the fact that their students were able to make that interconnectedness between science and math and apply it in the real world in an ecosystem PBL. So what we are doing here is making an impact. I also would like to highlight the fact that we're not just certifying teachers for 1 year to rubber stamp. As you see the numbers of our attainment of our teachers, we currently have a district average of those that have been gone through certification of 91%. If you're a returning certified teacher, will you please stand so you can be recognized? We have several here in the audience tonight. Please stand. All right. Now it is time for recognition. I need to turn it over back to Mr. Severe.
So again, we get to honor 3 campuses this year that worked really hard through this. It was a tough year with subs and everything else going on with this pandemic second year. We are just really proud of the work that they committed to. The first campus we want to recognize is Oak Point Elementary. If the principal, Ms. Worth, would come up. You can go up and take a picture with her. And Ms. Worth, did you have any teachers that came tonight, or they're just worn out with last week's? Okay. Okay, all right, thank you. Just, yeah, hang up. Next is Little Elm High School. Dr. Pretty. And I believe there are a couple high school teachers here tonight that earned their certification. If you guys would come up and be a part of this. And last, Lakeview Elementary. Ms. Opitz. And are there any teachers from Lakeview here tonight? Please come up and join us because we know you guys did all the work to get this certification. And before these guys step away, one thing we do want to really kind of honor up here are the teachers that did all the work here. And what you see is a group of teachers that's not just science teachers, teachers from across all content. STEM is not just about science. It is about all content areas working together to provide this educational concept of STEM and to get kids ready for this real world experience that they're going to hit in post-high school experiences.
And Mr. Severe, while they're taking a picture, if you look behind us, this banner is what is displayed at every one of our campuses now. So this is the high school's banner. It will be brought back to the high school probably tomorrow, I would imagine, Mr. Severe. But we'll get these up at all of our campuses, and you can see the plaques that they received. Just such a huge accomplishment. You mentioned earlier we were the first, or we are the first district in the state certified by NISE, which is the National Institute for STEM Education. It started out of Rice University, and we're also the second in the nation to have all of their schools certified. So this is it's a huge accomplishment. I'm very, very proud of the teachers, the administrators that made this happen. But neighboring districts, like right next door, are really working at trying to become NISE certified. So Mr. Severe, I think you have a couple more.
I do. One other group that we'd like to thank tonight is the Board of Trustees for having the vision and just allowing us to push forward during these times to make sure that we get our kids the education that they deserve. And it has been a really sweet journey. So what we decided to do was get you guys just an oversized cupcake to say thank you. And on this cupcake, what you'll find is a laminated card, and there's about 7 to 10 quotes from kids and what they've taken away from this idea of STEM entering their classrooms, entering their schools. And again, we just want to say thank you to the board. Thank you guys for allowing us to have this vision and supporting it both monetarily and with just the idea of the vision that you guys are creating for this district. So again, thank you very much. We hope you enjoy the quotes from the kids. We know that's probably what you're going to treasure the most. The treats are sweet, but it's really the kids that matter. So thank you guys very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Severe. And we have 2 board members that aren't here tonight, so we'll have to.
We'll take care of it.
They missed out. No, we'll put it in the fridge for them.
We'll take care of it. Don't worry.
All right, I would like to ask our athletic director, Coach Young, to come to the podium for a presentation on our athletic program.
All right, first I'd like to thank everybody for having us here tonight. This is a special night for us because we're recognizing the group of people that really make this whole thing work. We take a lot of pride here in Little Elm of when we host an event, an athletic event, of how it's run, not just for our fans, but for visiting fans. And we have a group that helps us with all this. It's a lot of work. You know, and during a pandemic, it made this even harder. And these people are also very important because there's thousands of people in the DFW area that come here. And sometimes their first and only really interaction with anybody from Little Elm is our workers. So they're very important, and their personality, their smile, their engaging with the people is a really, really important thing for not only us, our community, and our schools. So we take a lot of pride in that. And I will promise you that it's not always easy because people come in and sometimes don't like electronic tickets or bag policies and different things that have gone on. So sometimes those are hard to deal with, but they take a lot of pride in how they do it, and they're very special to us. And they're very busy. They all have other jobs that they work, and they come up here and they do this at night. Just the other night, we had our last round of games, and we had 4 games in one night. So they get spread thin. They're overworked and underpaid, but we really do appreciate them. So we're going to spend the night to recognize all of them, and also their years that they're going to be here, that they've been helping us. Sorry. All right, we're going to start with Shanina Standback, 3 years with us. Nathan Leonard, 3 years. Sandra Lamb, 4 years. Audrey Bell, 4 years. Olivia Mejia, 5 years. Henry Johnson, 6 years. Novelette Giddens, 8 years. LaShonda Stanberry, 9 years. Vanessa Devalia, 10 years. Maya Leonard, 12 years. Mark Rutledge II, 12 years. Mark Rutledge, 12 years. Maria Ortiz, 14 years. And Joyce King, last but not least, 16 years. Again, we appreciate all that you guys do, all for the district, for our kids, the parents, everybody. You put on a good show every time that you guys work, and we really appreciate all of you for what you do. And you'll never know how important you really are.
Yeah, Mark, you'll have to be at the back.
You stay in front, Mark. That makes sense.
Oh, baby, you like my hair? That's okay, baby, it's all right. See, that's my hair. Okay. Come on, Maria.
Yeah, I want to thank Coach. I want to take a minute. I want to thank each one of y'all. You all do make it happen, and what Coach said is true. You might be the only person somebody interacts with from Little MISD if they're coming in from the outside. But there's one person I want to thank and really give a special thanks to. This person has been here in the district 17 years. And I get a chance to give this recognition away once or maybe twice a year. This year, I'm giving 2 away. It's our Tripoli Award. And this person has been with the district 17 years and honestly makes everything happen in athletics. And look, she's already putting her head down. Alma, you need to come up here. I'm going to give you our Tripoli Award. Let me say, I'm going to talk for just a minute about Alma. Alma is one of those amazing individuals that no matter what is going on in your day, she will make you smile. She is always coming in, always to my office, asking me how I'm doing, telling me to have a blessed day. She is absolutely amazing. And when we talk about family in Little MISD, Alma is one of the people that really makes it a family. And we're truly blessed to have her here. You're amazing and you deserve this recognition. And I'm just proud. I'm proud to be the superintendent to be able to give this to you because you mean it. You mean so much to the district. So with that, here's the Tripoli Award. And then I'm not going to put it on you. No, I was good for you, but just thank you for everything you do. Appreciate you. I won't put you on the spot. Thank you. Thank you for
Put it on. Yes. Oh my goodness, I'm lost for words. That's rare.
Well deserved.
Alma, let's get you on the side.
So what are you doing?
Yeah.
And Alma, thank you again, and we truly, truly appreciate you, everything you do for us. So from recognizing one family member who's been with us for 17 years, we have some new family members we're going to introduce here when our Executive Director for Human Resources, Ashley Brown, she comes up to the podium for some new introductions.
All right. Thank you, Superintendent Gallagher, Mr. Montemayor, Board of Trustees. It's my pleasure this evening to introduce some of our newest Lobos. Last month, we brought to you for consideration several new hires in some very critical positions, support positions in our district. And so 2 of those folks are here tonight. So I'd like to start with introducing our new Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Learning, Dr. Penny Trammell. Dr. Trammell, will you join me? So Dr. Trammell's professional accomplishments are quite impressive. She started as an elementary teacher in Louisiana. That was kind of her early career. She moved into Coppell ISD, where she served still as an elementary teacher and team lead, elementary assistant principal, and also an elementary principal. Still in Coppell ISD, she went on to serve as the director for curriculum and instruction there, followed by being the executive director for curriculum and instruction. Most recently, Dr. Trammell has served as the chief academic officer for Chief Academic Officer in College Station ISD. She has a wealth of experience in everything from STEM implementation, which is going to fit right in, to curriculum development and strategic planning. On a more personal note, so we all know her resume and it's impressive, but on a more personal note, her husband's name is Andy, and she has 2 children, Clayton and Chelsea, and she has 1 grandson who hangs the moon and the stars, whose name is Caden, and he is starting kindergarten this fall. When I asked her, what's your favorite team and or sport to watch? It's a loaded question, but she responded correctly by saying that even though they're not winning like she'd like for them to, her favorite sport to watch is football, and her favorite team to cheer on are the Dallas Cowboys. Yes. Seal of approval. Seal of approval. When I asked her what her proudest accomplishment is, she said the career accomplishment that she's most proud of is converting a traditional school into a STEM school. A little known fact about Dr. Trammell, she says that she loves to zip line, and she has zip lined in Costa Rica. So we have an adventurous assistant superintendent. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Dr. Trammell to speak to us as our newest Lobo.
Thank you. Thank you. It is awesome to be here. I'm so blessed to be here when so many people have received awards and recognitions. I think it just speaks to the great place this is to be. And I just want to, Board of Trustees and Mr. Gallagher, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come and serve the children of this district. I am so excited to get started and roll my sleeves up and get right in there and work right along beside you to do great things for them. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Trammell. So I'm elated to introduce our next newest announcement, but not a new Lobo, a current Lobo that's moving into a new position. So I'm elated to introduce the new principal of Lakeview Elementary, Mr. Chris Reza. Come on down. Mr. Reza has been a Little Elm Lobo since 2014 and has served in many capacities in our great district. He has been house principal and associate principal at Little Elm High School. He's been the virtual summer school principal, the first ever and maybe last ever, maybe in summer 2020. He was the Lakeview Elementary summer school principal this past summer in summer 2021. And he's currently the assistant principal at Strike Middle School, where he helped open that building and helped establish the culture and traditions of that new campus. Prior to finding his Lobo home here, Mr. Reza was a teacher and coach of
many sports. There's a long list of sports for about 10 years. On a more personal note, Mr. Reza is married to Candace, and they have four children. Evan, who's a graduating who's an incoming 7th grader, and Isla, who's 3 years old and is at the daycare here at Zellers. Is she here?
She's right there.
Hi, Isla. So when I asked him, again, what's your favorite team and or sport to watch? Again, a really great answer. He says, I'm a pure Dallas fan. He loves watching everything, but especially Dallas Star hockey and Dallas Cowboys football. And basically, if the TV's on, he's watching sports. When I asked what his proudest accomplishment is, he said, it's becoming the Lakeview principal. I've been working hard to be able to be in this position to lead this campus, and he's looking forward to that opportunity. I asked him if he collects anything, and he said he collects experiences. He doesn't want things like gifts. He wants experiences. Him and his wife love to watch live music and love to travel. He's seen over 100 different artists in his life. His very first concert was Paul McCartney. A little known fact about Mr. Reza, he is originally from El Paso, Texas, and he taught not only math, but also AP art. So Mr. Reza is a very experienced educator. We're super excited to have you leading our Lakeview campus. And without further ado, I'll give you the podium.
Board of Trustees, Mr. Gallagher, Mr. Ross, Ashley Brown. I just want to thank you guys for the confidence that you have in me and the opportunity to be the Lakeview principal and to move that district into brand new heights. If my mom comes running up here, she still thinks I'm 12, so that's okay. Just taking pictures. I appreciate it. Hi, Mom. But I'm just really excited for the journey. I'm really excited to get started. I've already been working with the staff and know most of them well, and I'm really looking forward to the challenges that it brings, but also the great growth and all the things that the STEM certifications that we've already gotten started. So thank you guys very much.
Congratulations and welcome. And hopefully that's not an interview question, like what sports teams I don't think that's new. Ashley, hopefully it's not. All right, Mr. Roberts, we have some recognition that we want to present to some of our teachers who are members of the Superintendent Employee Advisory Committee. And this is something that's very important to me. We started this a couple of years ago. It really provides us a connection, a closer connection to the campuses, and really a voice for the campuses. So I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Gallagher, Board of Trustees. I want to keep the theme going with incredible employees that we have, from Ms. Rutledge to our new hires here, new family members. And I want to move into, like Mr. Gallagher said, our SEEK, our Superintendent Employee Advisory Committee. I believe this is our second go around now. Mr. Gallagher and myself get to spend 4 evenings a school year, 2 in the fall, 2 in the spring with these incredible employees and teammates. And really our number one objective and the purpose of SEEK really is to improve district systems and really have that two-way communication and to gather feedback so that we can become better as an organization. This group definitely does that. We did some incredible activities just a few weeks ago on some different topics. They always are open to share their thoughts, and we have just a great time. So we can't say enough how much we appreciate this group and the input that they give us. We look to continue with this group as the nucleus, and we want to add more employees to them as we grow next year. So with that being said, I'm going to go through. We have some beautiful certificates for our SEEK members. And I'm going to go through these, and as you come up, just stand here and we'll hand those out, and then we'll hold our applause to the end. Okay? So first up, Brenda Adame. Thank you, Brenda. Blanca Arias. Irene Bagby. Jaquandalyn Below. Blaze Brockman. Julia Espinoza. Carla Figueroa. Latrice Garner. Dina Glitzos. Chelsea Guerra. And Yvonne Ugliavanovic. Pretty close. I practice over and over.
They really are a voice for us to listen to, but we've actually made changes based upon the recommendations. So one of them is the calendar.
Yeah,
that's
calendar
something
next
that-
year, where we have a significant break in the fall.
Yeah, so
From
we,
input from.
so this is really, and this isn't all of them, this is a representation, it's a great group. We need 2 rows. Thank you. Now, as I've said before, you all are welcome to stay the entire board meeting, but I know it's been a long day. You don't have to stay. So thank you all so much for being here and for serving on that important committee. Are we ready to go to reports of the superintendent? Okay. All right. Dr. Glover, if you'd come up and let us know about the federal funding.
I will. I don't have any accolades or cupcakes, but I have federal programs, so let's go. Good evening, President Montemayor, Superintendent Gallagher, Board of Trustees. Each year we come to you and share some information on our intent to apply for federal program funding. In front of you, you will see some of those federal fund opportunities that are included. Including our ESSA funds, which are inclusive of Title 1, 2, 3, and 4, our CTE or Perkins, Strengthening Career and Technical Education, IDEA or Individuals with Disabilities Act, as well as IDEA Pre-K. And this is the really fun alphabet soup part, the Corona Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act, which is our ESSER 2, the ARP Homeless 2, ARP American Rescue Plan, ESSER 3. It's never boring. And the ESSER Supplemental and additional grant opportunities. And all teasing aside, this has been an amazing opportunity to bring these funds into our district and really put them to some excellent use already, as well as going forward. On your next slide, you'll see our entitlements. You'll notice that I have them listed there on the side, ESSA, Perkins, IDEA, and then ESSER 2, 3, and supplemental with the approximate entitlements. For ESSA, Perkins, and IDEA, those are formula funds that we receive each year. ESSER 2, ESSER supplemental, and ESSER 3, those programs opened with a back award of March 13th of 2020. And ESSER 2 and ESSER supplemental are complete in 2023, and ESSER 3 is complete in 2024. We do have some opportunities coming up for our community to share their questions, their ideas, their thoughts on any of these programs. Sometimes it's just interesting for people to come and listen what everything means and what it's for. We have had an open survey for ESSER 3. We did get some great feedback. And then also we have our District Education Improvement Council meeting coming up at the end of the month, and also a call for public input, any questions the public may have on June 2nd. And that will go out in our community newsletter as well as be posted on our website. So we do encourage people to come to that Zoom meeting so that we can answer any questions. So what questions may I answer for you regarding federal funds?
Just
Okay.
yeah. So earlier we heard about the funding that we'll be able to use to get 35 positions.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any ideas that have been shared about what to do with these funds?
With the funds not part of the new positions?
Exactly.
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked. So these funds are, as Ms. Adams mentioned, for closing the gaps, for tutoring, for extension, anything to accelerate learning for our students, not just in academia, but also the social emotional learning, the home piece. And so it's a very, each campus has the opportunity to spend funds as they see fit within their campus plan to target their specific students and their needs. And so it has been a fantastic infusion and opportunity for us. And so in addition to the positions, we have had the opportunity to get some intervention programs, some additional summer school help for our students that may need that, as well as materials our teachers may need to increase the resources that we have. But we're really excited because one thing about ESSER, though it's called 3 different things, the same allowability for costs are across the board. There are 20 allowable costs, and within each one, it can range from funding positions to social emotional learning to summer school. I mean, so there's a lot of different things that can be done there. So we have both campus autonomy for their specific students, but also the opportunity to bring in some of those positions. Absolutely, yes, ma'am. Okay, absolutely.
Dr. Glover, I think you're up there for the
And
next
I'm
update.
back.
All
Okay,
right, thank you.
fantastic. We're holding one moment. Okay, thank you very much again. This evening, we have your curriculum and learning update. Both myself as well as Amanda Ball, our Director for Professional Learning and Advanced Academics. Last month, there were some questions about IGC and what a district does, not only our district, but in the state of Texas, what we do to help support our students who are great students, but for whatever reason, they have not been able to reach academic success on the EOC specifically. And so what we've done is we do IGC committees along with the rest of the state. And so who that is for, I just want to give you a brief overview of what that is and how it works. And so a school district open enrollment charter can award a high school diploma to a student who has taken but failed to achieve the end of course assessment graduation requirements for no more than 2. As you know, we have 5 required EOCs: English 1, English 2, biology, US history, and algebra 1. And so if no more than 2 courses, we can convene an IGC. That's established at the end of or after a student's 11th grade year, and it can't start before the subsequent school year. Okay, so how do we make those determinations? Our end goal is for all of our students to be successful. So this is and I will show you on the next slide, this is an opportunity that came to us as legislation back in 2015. When we look at individual graduation committees that are rooted at the campus, there are other determining factors for students to be qualified to graduate under an IGC, including attendance. Did the student take the TSI, ASVAB? I will make sure you have that information. But the main one that is followed across the state is the completion of a project related to the subject area of that course so that a student can demonstrate proficiency. So, or they can prepare a portfolio in our district and across the project is done that can be supported through the campus staff as well as the curriculum and learning department support. And so a student must also complete all credit requirements. This is completely separate of credit requirements. And then They must also complete all additional requirements recommended by the IGC, and the committee's vote must be unanimous. So how do we do that here? That gives you a good overview, what it is. If you had to explain it, this would be what it looks like. So for us, we first determine who qualifies for an IGC. We notify our parents and we review our students' specific needs, any certain programs that we need to make sure that we take care of all those specifications for our kids. We hold that initial IGC meeting in those different content areas. They access the project and they complete it under supervision at their home campus. They submit the final project for grading with feedback, and we pass on the final project recommendation to the student's campus. So the grade isn't necessarily the IGC. The individual graduation committee is a committee made up of the principal, of a content area teacher for whichever content the student is trying to reach that proficiency, among several others. And so with that, we pass along the project information, and the IGC meets to make determinations if a student may graduate under this bill. You also have, on this very first slide down at the bottom, if you're interested in some light reading, you have the evolution of the legislative Senate bills that we've had the opportunity to work with. Each time we have a legislative session, they come forth and they update it for the years. Right now, our IGC is for any student who would have graduated between 2014, 2015, and 22, 23. They will do a re-up of sorts in 23 and hopefully continue this process. And so last month when you asked what is the IGC, and Dr. Mecca said, we'll share with you what that is what it is. What questions may I answer for you before I turn it over to Ms. Ball? Yes, ma'am.
I have one about how do parents or do students access this process, and when do they need to initiate it, or is this something that we initiate? We
initiate. We keep a careful eye on all of our students, each student. So as soon as they go ahead and they take that assessment, but as soon as the need arises, we are making the student, the parent, everyone aware of the opportunity before them. And so that begins quite a bit earlier in the spring, after those December results come in. And so we provide the support to the student at the campus level, and then they provide support at the campus level, and we also provide support in our department.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
How many students have we had take advantage of this program?
So since 2015, as of this morning, 123. Of course, 2020, we didn't have, it was a kind of an unusual year. The process changes a little bit each time, but we make sure that we pay very special attention to it because of its obvious importance. And so as those rules change, we see, does this apply to more students? How can we make this work? How can the students show their great proficiency, even though it's not an EOC? And so we do pay attention to those things. And so we're proud to be able to support them in this way.
Thank you.
Certainly. All right. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Amanda Ball, our Director for Professional Learning and Advanced Academics. Certainly.
Awesome. President Montemayor, Board of Trustees, Mr. Gallagher, thank you so much. This has been a busy evening, so I appreciate your time. I'm going to be brief. Ms. Adams mentioned people earlier and our investment in people, and so it's a perfect connection, and also our STEM certification, all the people we've been celebrating, and so I'm glad that I got to go tonight with my update. So some highlights for adult learning for this summer. And this time of year moves at warp speed for us in our office, and slows down for some people. It's like wrap at the end of the year, and I can't even answer a text message at this time of the year. So it's an interesting dynamic. The feedback that we get from teachers, and we had some of our SEEK members here, and some of their feedback led to a major change, a major shift in our summit as well. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But the feedback that we get from teachers has a direct impact on the work that we do in the summer. And so the first step that we take is we do curriculum revision and refinement over the summer. And so that's the first thing we're doing. And it's like 2 days after school is out. We get groups of teachers together that are volunteers. Some of them choose to get paid. Some of them choose to do exchange hours, but they are giving up their time to take the feedback that teachers have given all year long and put that to work, revising and refining our curriculum. And the purpose of that is to make sure that we're developing and maintaining a guaranteed and viable curriculum for our students. So that's the first part of our kind of highlight for our professional learning this summer. And then we have Summit, and we've got a lot of firsts this year for Summit. We're going to be in our new building. And so we are putting together a conference blind. We've gone over and we've seen this kind of, construction zone, but we're kind of doing this in a new way. We're also having a hybrid conference for the first time. So the last couple of years, we've had it virtually. And it was popular. It was popular to a lot of teachers that were able to go on vacation and still attend professional learning. But we know that there's a lot of power in face-to-face learning, so we don't want to give that up. So this year we've committed to offering in-person and virtual sessions. So we have 92 sessions, and 25 of them are virtual. So we're going to have these concurrently. And this is the first time that we're doing it in this way. And so we've got quite a few things happening for the first time. We're going to be in this new building and in July. And so our teachers are going to get to see it. And like I said, very excited about that. Admin launch. We call it a retreat. We don't go anywhere really. We'll be in the new building for this as well. But this is an opportunity for our administrators, campus and district administrators to come together. And really the purpose for this is to get on the same page. This is about visioning. This is about clarity. And our goal is to get ready for the first day of school. And we give our campus leaders what they need to open the doors on the first day. This is really about setting the tone, and it's 3 days that we get to spend all together for, again, that kind of clarity and purpose for our teachers, so they know that we're all on the same page too. Lobo Welcome Week. You guys are always invited to our breakfast, our lunch that we have, and we'll make sure that you get that invitation this year as well. This is a week-long orientation, and HR has done something different the last couple of years. Is they've taken a little bit off of our plate because they're doing weekly orientations and onboardings with our new hires. And so we've really been able to dig in instructionally in that week, and we don't have to worry about giving people their laptops and making sure they have their benefits. They're doing that in the summer. So we're really being able to focus instructionally with our new hires during Lobo Welcome Week and making sure that they have those foundational skills that they need to be confident to start the school year off on the right foot. And then it's fall kickoff, just like that. And we're all back together again. And this is a mix of campus-based and district-led professional learning. And it's strategic to make sure that we're all getting to experience all this, that collaboration. And it's also protected work time for teachers. We build that in on purpose so they can have that time to feel prepared for the first days of school. So that's it. That's how fast it goes. And then we spend the rest of the year taking all of that learning that we did in the summer, and we practice. We apply it, and we give each other feedback, and then we make those connections. And I wanted to just kind of leave you with this. We designed the professional learning to get the most out of our time together because we don't have a lot of time, and we don't want to pull teachers from instruction. So we have to take the student data, think about what it is that the skills that we need to transfer that into for teachers, and then and that's what we design to get the most bang for our buck. What questions do you have for me? Okay, Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Mrs. Ball. Great job. Thank you. Next, I would like to, and I'm going to do just a very brief update on the bond election. And, as the community knows, board knows, the 2022 bond did not pass. I guess it was a week ago, this past Saturday. It seems like it was a month ago at this point. The district put together a committee of community volunteers that really put that bond package together based upon what the needs are of the district moving forward. As you all know, we have a bond workshop coming up on June 1st that we'll be able to get into some more of these topics and discussions at a deeper level. But I don't have the clicker, but on the next slide, it says what we know. The reality is, because the bond did not pass, there will definitely be an additional cost to the district and taxpayers. And what we mean by that is, and I may ask Mr. Martin to come up if you have questions about this, but for every 6-month delay there is, it will add at least a 4 to 6% increase to the construction cost. So we're talking labor cost, supplies. Is that correct, Mr. Martin? And really that cost that you're looking at there, that $15,367,525, that would be the cost at the time of build. So whatever those projects are, those costs will be increased. So for example, elementary number 7 had an estimated cost of $35,500,000. Because of the delay, it will be projected to be at $39,760,000. So the reality is we had the capacity to go out for a $398 million, just under $400 million bond without a tax increase for all of those projects, which would be the expansion of the high school, elementary 7, 8, 9, middle school number 3, the playground equitability, and the different specifics regarding the high school, the gym, the competition gym, the orchestra spaces, and so on. Because of this, the board will have to determine really what angle we want to go as a district. Do we want to go out for the same dollar amount? Do you want to go for a lower dollar amount? Right now, based upon what I know today, our capacity is still just at $400 million without raising the current tax rate. To go out for all of these projects, I think at this point we missed the window to do that without raising taxes. So y'all are going to really have to get together on the 1st to look at what we want to do as a group. So some additional costs that will be happening if the bond doesn't pass in the future will be transportation cost and portable cost. Next slide. And again, now this is all contingent upon a future bond not passing. So if the board calls for a bond election in May or in this November, and it doesn't pass, I think we missed a slide here. Okay, go to the next slide. We can come back to this one. Next slide. So if the bond is not called for or does not pass in November, these are the things that we will have to look at as a district. We'll have to consider busing students. So when, for instance, Oak Point Elementary is a great example. It's we have over 900 students there right now. So as new students move into that zone, one of the options that we can look at is busing those students that move in to other campuses that have openings. We can also look at rezoning our elementary campuses. And then, of course, and it's not on here, but we certainly will look at using all available space in our schools, meaning library space, spaces, common areas. And then at the secondary level, we would have to look at increasing the number of teachers that are floating. And what that means is if you're a teacher that is floating, you will be teaching in a classroom where that teacher's on conference period, if that makes sense. And I've done that as a teacher. It certainly is challenging, but it's doable. The bottom line, go back to that slide. So the board's going to have to determine at a future date, you're not voting tonight, if you want to initiate a new bond committee, if you want to call the old, I don't want to say old committee, the previous committee back together, or if the board really wants to make a recommendation as the board on, really what you want to do. The deadline to call for November 8th bond election is August 22nd. And, we've got some challenges ahead of us. Again, if the bond is called in November, doesn't pass, I would certainly make a recommendation to go out again in May, this next May. But then if it doesn't pass in May, this is where we'll have to take a hard look at some of these, these suggestions or possible solutions. So it's really important for the community to know those things that we just talked about, the busing of students, the rezoning. It's not to scare people into voting for the bond. It's a reality. Doesn't mean it's happening this coming year, but it will happen if we don't have the capacity to build new schools. The students are coming, and this is what I've told people is the students are coming. We're going to serve the students. We have to find a way to serve them and find a place for them to learn. Questions? Mr. Flores.
Comment more than anything. It's unfortunate that it failed with just about 200 votes, right? And the previous bond passed with flying colors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as I think about what happened is maybe communication. We may have failed in communicating how this was going to work. And even more so now that you're saying what the effects of this not passing are, we need to even communicate that even more if we decide to go for a second bond in November.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And this is one thing I want to be real clear with the community because people have asked me, well, why didn't you say that during the election? We really can't, and there's no campaign right now. But the one thing we've got to be careful, I have to be careful as superintendent. I'm superintendent 24/7. I cannot advocate for the bond. All I can do is present the facts. We have to be careful as a district. Now, board members, individual board members, when you're acting as a board, as a group of 7, you also have to be very careful in how you communicate. But individually, all of this information, these are facts. This will happen. I just can't say it because we never want to be accused of trying to scare people into voting for a bond. Now, if people, and I see our CFO, Assistant Soup over there, shaking her head. If people ask me, because they did ask during our community meetings, what's Plan B? And the answer really is portables. We will have to purchase new portables, and when you do that, that's going to come right out of operating funds. And again, Mr. Flores, you're correct. I think communication is key. I've got to be careful how we communicate, and the district employees do. But individual board members, I think you've got a little more freedom as individuals to talk about this. What you won't see is if you do call for another bond election, you're not going to see me talking about, well, if you don't vote for it, this is what's going to happen. I just can't do it. But it is the reality. The kids are coming, and we have to have a place for them. So I do appreciate that because we definitely have been talking about how can we say things a little differently. We'll definitely review what we communicated and maybe how often.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off what Mr. Flores said. I think a lot of it is communication. I know I take that very personally. I know I could have been more vocal. I kind of I think there was what I've realized, been talking and realizing how I communicated or did not communicate during the process. And then with people afterwards, is there was a lot of apathy. I think from a lot of people that I've spoken to that are supporters of the bond and of these processes, there's a lot of them that didn't vote because they just assumed the last one was so successful. We've done great things since then, et cetera. And, definitely that's going to be something that we'll need to change going forward. I will also point out that is why, there is a thought exchange out.
That's
just
correct,
because, my own personal belief is I think we didn't answer some questions on the ballot says it's a tax increase. We say it's not. How do you bridge that gap? I think that was the overriding reason to a discussion on why not a second high school. I don't think that was ever as comprehensive enough as it could have been an explanation as to it's not just a land issue.
Yeah.
It's okay. What does our district look like as two high schools?
What
would we not have? We wouldn't have CUTX. We wouldn't have culinary arts. We wouldn't have welding. What would a two high school Little Elm school district look like? And I think that would also change the discussion a lot too about just, can we build a second campus? Yes.
So one of the
what
things,
does that look like?
And going back to what Mr. Flores said, we've already talked, Cecilia and I, for those listening, Cecilia is our director for communications, doing those Ask the Superintendent videos and, submit questions, really doing a series of those videos. This is, again, where we have to be careful that during the campaign, once you call for an election, right now we can speak a little more freer about it.
Yep.
So we'll have to get some of these videos out sooner.
So that's why I mentioned, that's why I think that thought exchange is so important, because even though those are the two issues, I think that may not be the two issues that really come forward if we do get a good participation of that thought exchange. And really think that is why it's so important, because we do need to hear from our community on what the real issues were.
Good. No, I agree.
I just want to kind of echo what President Montemayor said. Is I had several people ask me, could the district have done more? And my point blank answer was yes. Not necessarily the district. I think the district and Mr. Gallagher did a fine job. As David said, I think we as a board could have done a tremendous amount more. And the one thing that I point out to everyone that asked me, I said, is remember, we as a board, we're the one that called for the election. We're the one that asked for the bond, not the district, not Mr. Gallagher. It's kind of on our shoulders and our job. If we're going to call for a bond to go on the election, we need to help that along as much as we possibly can. When we had the last one in 17, I know that every single one of those board members were out there quite often, almost every single public meeting that we had on it. And we were, afterwards, I think every one of us were engaging with the community and talking to folks quite a bit. This one, unfortunately, not so much, but my time is short. But if it does come back, I will be out there trying to rally the community as much as possible.
I think there was some confusion with people who thought they were having a property tax increase. And we couldn't be clear about the damage that would happen. The community members who reached out to me are now feeling badly about not having voted and about not having voted yes. I feel confident about in the future having a favorable outcome. I honestly think this was just an unfortunate life lesson learned for the whole community. No one I've talked to wants this outcome that is pending for us. And I think there's more understanding, unfortunately, from it failing. And now there's clarity on, that's what's going to happen. We don't want that to happen. So I honestly feel like definitely we could do the communication, but the communication and the consequence is out there, and everyone is looking at the consequence right now. So as close as we can get to the date, the right before, we can't say anything else. We just need to be reminding people of this negative consequence until we can't anymore, because it's a painful consequence to think about portables and the waivers and going back to, that's kind of going backwards, and we're growing, so we have to go forward. So people just need to understand that.
Well, and it did, and again, I appreciate all the comments, and I agree wholeheartedly with each one of you. And Mr. Flores, we definitely are going to re-examine how we communicate and what we communicate. So I definitely appreciate that. The one thing that, again, is another fact is it put everything, even if it passed, if you call it, it puts everything back a whole year. So elementary number 7 was going to open in August of 2024. And now, at the earliest, it'll be August of 2025. So we will have to have some plans in place to address the students that are coming. And I do want to say for the community that's listening, this bond 2022, we really started planning this with the community and the committee. Way back in 2021, and really almost in 2020, we started looking at when we would have to go out for a bond for the growth that's coming. So this wasn't thrown together. There was a lot of thought put into this, a lot of hard work by these committee members, multiple meetings, a lot of discussion, a lot of healthy debate. And, at the end of the day, we're going to obviously respect the voters with what they decide. Our staff, our teachers, they've always risen to challenges. Definitely appreciate the support of the board. But June 1st, we'll have an opportunity to dig in, and y'all will be able to have some discussion about what path you want to take as a board. So I appreciate y'all, appreciate the support, and June 1st is coming up pretty quick, and it'll be a good meeting. Any other questions? All right, thank you all.
All right, so with that, do we have citizen input response?
Yes, sir.
All right. So first up, I do have Mr. Ty Phillips, who just approached the podium. Just state your name, and then you'll have 5 minutes. I'll give you a 1 minute heads up before the end.
Okay. My name is Ty Phillips, and I'm here to talk about accountability. I mean, we sit and we listen to all these good things tonight, and then we had the discussion about how we could have done so much more for the for the bond. Several years ago, I helped Mr. English with his reelection campaign. And afterwards, Mr. English asked me to be a part of a group to hold him accountable to his campaign promises. That never really happened. But Mrs. Watkins, our new board, she worked really hard on her campaign. She talked about academics first. She talked about accountability. And she talked about specifically holding the board accountable. And I think that's great. But I'm not optimistic that one person can hold the rest of the board accountable. And so tonight I want to talk about training. Last month, Mr. Montemeyer mentioned that only Mr. Blackwood was the only person that completed all the training. But the mention was about the additional training, extra training that's done every year. So it's kind of not transparent. It's kind of misleading. I have here the records of all the board members' training. And you can also find what training is required on the board member website of LEISD. It says topic 1, special required training. Mr. Blackwood has done a lot of training in his 6 years. And this is an example of the required training, governance for improved student learning, which has to be done every 2 years. What board members need to know about sexual abuse, sex trafficking, updated every 2 years. Evaluating and improving student outcomes, to be done every 2 years. Child abuse prevention. It's a 1-hour course to be done every 2 years. Then there's the Open Public Meetings Act and cybersecurity. There is only one other board member that has done all those required training. Dr. Thompson has only been with us for a year and a half, and she's the only other one. See, last year, it said that Mr. English had completed all of his training, but some of the other board members were lacking. Well, Mr. Flores, he's been with us for 8 years. His last training in the topic one was in 2015. So all those things that I just mentioned, no record of being taken in 8 years. Mr. English, even though it said last year on the website that he completed all of his training, as of 2014, he's only done 3 others in the topic one. Child abuse prevention, he took in 2020 and 2021, and cybersecurity, 2021. I'm not even going to go through the rest. That's like a train wreck. We're talking about academics first, but we're not even doing the required education to know that we're putting academics first. We're not doing these things. Now, we are paying for conferences, and we have board members that are going to conferences with topics like, don't let embarrassing complaints embarrass you, or avoiding daisy chains and chain gangs, a stay out of jail free session.
One.
Clean it up, because I'll be back. But it's time for the public to be the ones that hold the board members accountable.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. No, that's right. I was just looking for a gap in his speech. All right, the second person we have is Mr. Jason Salisbury. You can state your name, and I'll give you a 1-minute heads up for 5 minutes total.
Good evening, everybody. Board, President. I always forget which to say first. President first, then everybody else. Firstly, before I go into my little diatribe, I would say, yes, the board needs to come back. Yes, you need to do a new committee, because the old one, it's going to leave a bad taste in people's mouths. So get a new one. Let's get it in June. Let's get it one. Let's just get it done. So my name is Jason Salisbury, and I've been in Little Elm for over 20 years. I've had one daughter go from K through 12, and I currently have 2 other kids in school, one in middle school, one in elementary. I'm here today because there's something going on in Texas, and I think it needs to stay the heck out of Little Elm. There's a lot of talk about book banning. I'm against it, clearly, because I'm up here. I've been told Little Elm isn't currently partaking in this, and I want it to stay that way. My wife and I are the parents of our kids. We will be the people who decide what they read, watch, and learn. A parent's choice, which should be considered sacred. I lost my place. Should be considered sacred as well as to the board. Should there be something that we do not wish our kids to learn, read, or watch, we will make that decision ourselves. In the interim of all this, I've also submitted other policies in case it keeps creeping into Little Elm. I've submitted 4 policies to the board to potentially circumvent them. What I consider are ideas, letting parents get involved, letting parents, if they don't like a book, a parent portal that has previously been discussed, so that they can choose what their kids get to do. A policy that doesn't ban a single book and lets the parent choose, a library bill of rights, a parental portal book, which is, I've been told, incoming. Basically what I'm getting to is it's each parent should parent their own child. Each household should make their decision for their kids. I don't want anybody making any decisions for my kids any more than I know nobody wants me making decisions for them and their kids. You don't. Salman Rushdie said, If there's a choice between absolute safety and freedom, then freedom must always prevail. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salisbury. All right. So moving on, we have action item, consider approval of financial reports for March 2022. Mr. Weiss? Sorry, Jessica, can you hold on a second? I skipped ahead. First item is consider the regular board minutes of April 25th, 2022. Everyone's had a chance to review those. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any comments or edits or questions on those? All right, all those in favor? Abstention. Okay. All right, motion passes. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Weiss?
Sir. Good evening, Superintendent Gallagher, President Montemayor, Board of Trustees. The privilege of presenting the financial reports tonight. In our general fund tonight, we're not presenting any budget amendments to the general fund. We're bringing a final budget amendment next month to close out the year. There's no current impact on the general fund, highlighted in green. Board policy indicates that we maintain fund balance of at least 24% of our total annual operating expenditures. So we're meeting that requirement currently. In our capital outlay fund, this has been updated to include all projects as of April 30th. And all projects are on track from a budget perspective, and we're about 21 million project budget dollars remaining on approved projects. In our debt service fund, we've realized all of our revenue for the year. Our debt service payment will be made in August, and we're on track for that. At this point, we don't anticipate any changes to the fund balance for the year, but we'll update all that with the final budget amendment that we bring next year or next month. The administration recommends approval of certain March 22 financial reports as submitted.
All right, is there any questions? Actually, is there a motion to approve the financial reports as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any questions on that? All right, all those in favor? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Weiss.
Thank you very much.
All right, is there anything from consent agenda that needs to be pulled out individually?
Item A.
Okay, anything else? Mr. Gallagher, are we able to speak to that on its own?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you need a motion?
A motion to pull it out? Is there a motion to pull out item A from the consent agenda onto its own?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay.
All right, President Montemayor, board members. So item A is an update to EF Local.
Doesn't matter.
She'll say. Sonny, do we need to, that was to pull it down. Do we need another motion to open it for consideration?
No.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So EF Local, this is a policy update regarding instructional materials. And in our policy, EF Local, library books are one of those considered an instructional material. So what this policy update allows is when a book is challenged informally, we have an internal process that Jeff Wiseman, our curriculum department, and our librarians have developed because there are some concerns that are we're seeing it on social media, we're hearing about it on the news. This will allow, when a library book is challenged informally, it will allow the committee to review it internally and while they review it, and especially for those books where there's only one copy, this allows for that book to be pulled during that review process because right now it actually states access to challenged resources should not be restricted during the reconsideration process. except the district may deny access to a child if requested by the child's parent. One big problem with that is when they are reviewing a book, especially if there's one copy, we certainly can't leave that on the shelf while they're reviewing it. Mr. Flores?
Mr. Gallagher, would you kind of explain the process? Let's say we open up a new school, a new high school.
Can we get a motion first and then discuss it?
Okay.
Well, I guess, were you done?
Yes.
Okay.
But I can answer more questions.
Yeah. No, so is there a motion to approve the changes to EF local board policy update as presented? All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, now questions?
Yeah. So maybe would it be helpful to explain the process in how the books arrive at a library when, let's say we open up a brand new high school? How do we select the books that come into the high school in the first place?
Yeah, so it can be purchased in bulk, and that's what we see a lot of times when a new building is open. You're ordering thousands of books, and I don't know the exact number of library books that we have at the high school, but let's say we open a new high school. You would have to, a librarian is not going to handpick each book to put on the shelf. A lot of the distributors and the vendors will sell, I'll describe it as like packs, bulk packages to fill the shelves. That's, hopefully that makes sense.
We don't know as a district what's really going in there until somebody points it out.
No, that's correct to a point. And again, there's thousands of books in our libraries. And I mean, to be blunt, it's impossible for the librarian to read every single book. It just isn't going to happen. We don't have the staff to read every single book in our libraries. It's impossible. I wish we had the staff for that, but they're teaching in classrooms at this point.
So I guess in addition to that, so then how do books get added to the current book availability at current libraries?
Yeah,
From
and-
year to year or period to period?
And I don't have a librarian here, but I can talk from experience when I was a principal. So what we have, especially with our aging buildings or buildings that have been around for a while, the librarian will look at the inventory. They do inventory all the time. And especially at the end of the year, they'll go through the inventory. They'll run a report on which books are checked out on a regular basis and which books haven't been checked out for maybe years. So you have a limited amount of shelf space. So what you want to get are books that are engaging, that students want to read. We want our kids to read, so we want to get material that they're going to be interested in. So the librarians will pull books that haven't been checked out. They're just not, kids aren't interested in them. They'll pull them and then they'll order new books to replace those. So I don't have an exact number, but I would imagine, it can range from 50 books a year to, and I might be making these numbers up.
Well, but I guess my question wasn't so much the numbers, but how do they choose the titles that they're ordering? Is there like a refresh pack or
There can be, or it's by topic. It's by obviously age appropriateness and then topic. Really, what are kids interested in? If you think about the books that were in the library although I'm older than you, but when I was in school, I don't think the kids would be interested in that today. So it's really by topic. They might be able to order a small package that's already pre-packaged. But that's what you're going to find a lot when you're ordering books is a lot of pre-packaging. And they do look at titles, but you still don't really know unless you're reading the books.
Could a teacher or a student make a request for a particular book and then the librarian order those books?
Yes.
Is that?
Yep. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. And that happens if there's a, high interest topic. Kids, they'll ask the librarian, we don't have enough copies of whatever it is. I remember when I was an elementary principal, it was Captain Underpants. That was we didn't have enough copies of those. So it depends on what the desire is and what the topic is that the kids want.
Because it was my understanding that there was also just kind of certain literary awards that are given out to books each year and stuff, and that we would automatically get any books that won certain awards or something like that. And that's also what's kind of led to maybe some more controversial topics coming into our libraries because they've won certain prizes that would then automatically put them on our shelves. Is that not the case?
And I can't speak to controversial topics, but I can tell you like the Blue Bonnet Award, that's a big one for elementary schools. Caldecott, the Newbery Award. Caldecott is, it's been a while, it's the illustration, books that are illustrated. Newbery is more of a novel. And then the Blue Bonnet is what they, it's the state recognitions.
But I guess the takeaway is our librarians still have full discretion whether they pick those, order those or not.
Yeah, absolutely. These aren't just sent to schools and we have to take them. They're ordered or we accept them if they're in some sort of package.
Okay. So then what's this process look like now if a parent comes or a student or a member of the community or someone comes to object to a book? What's that process going to look like now?
So we already have a process in place, and this is something that, when in different communities are experiencing this in different ways, I wanted to make sure it was on our website. So it's currently on our website. We have a formal process that if a parent or staff member or anyone really challenges, it can be instructional materials. It can be an activity a teacher does in class. It can be a library book. It can be any sort of instructional material. There is a formal process that is there. To date, I do not believe we've had any formal challenges of library books or instructional materials that I'm aware of. I don't believe we've had any since I've been here as superintendent. We do have an informal process, again, that the librarians, and really it's a small committee consisting of our director of library services and our librarians, that if a community member, maybe is not a parent or a staff member, if they say, hey, I've heard this book is highly inappropriate for schools, rather than us, just jumping to that formal process, I think it's incumbent upon us as professionals to review that book and determine if there is any validity to that. And if there is, then we can recommend that they go through the formal challenge process. But in the meantime, I think it's important that, what this allows is if we are reviewing that book, it allows us to review it and, pull it during that review time.
So if the review finds it's inappropriate, it gets pulled. Would that be public somewhere? Like who gets notified about that or how does?
Well, if it's pulled, it will be pulled while it's being reviewed. But if it's pulled, we're not going to pull it permanently. That is not something the district will do. The community member or staff member or whoever has a concern with that book will need to go through the formal process.
Okay. So if the formal process finds that something should get pulled, what happens? Or that, not that if the formal process finds that something is appropriate, what happens?
Then that book or instructional material would be pulled at that point.
So we're wondering, back to comments that have been made, both social media and public here tonight, if somebody does want to have their kids read something that a school has deemed inappropriate, they're still free to do so, right? I mean, they can say, hey, my kid's not getting access at school, but this is the list that I want to now pull to. Is that going to be available for them?
Not if something is, if it's deemed, if it's a library book, then it will not be available to that child's, to the parents' children, if that makes sense. So
Well, it won't be available to any of our students. If it goes through the formal process.
If it goes through the
and
formal
committee
process.
Votes to, or finds that it should be pulled, it won't be available to anybody. But how's that going to be tracked, and does that get made public?
No, if you look at our formal process is not about banning books or banning instructional materials. It's really up to the individual parent.
Okay.
So if, for instance, Dr. Thompson, if you have if your daughter has an assignment or a library book that you don't think is appropriate, we'll go through that process and it won't be available for your child, but we're not going to pull it and ban it for all students.
Except with this process, it would.
No, it wouldn't.
Just while it's in review.
Just in the review.
If I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the current policy is aligned with PICO, 1982 Supreme Court, about not removing something while it's being reconsidered. Today, May 16th, TASB issued policy recommendations specific to how we can manage it. We haven't had it was just issued today. So we haven't had an opportunity to review TASB's policy alert specific to this, where they provided updates from what TEA recommended. We literally, it just came out today. So I think we're needing to review the latest information and specifically make sure that what our new policy is doing will not take us too far away from aligning with the law. The current policy is aligned. The TASB policy updates, the alert, I haven't had a chance to review it. It literally just came out today. And the TA, when I did get a chance to look at it, but I think we need to compare side by side. And most importantly, we need to make sure that anything we do differently from what we have is still going to be aligned with the law. That's really my biggest concern.
This still is, what this allows is, if it's specific to library books, because again, when you have one copy, and if we want to review it as a district because of a staff member, how can we review it and still make it available for students if it's pulled off the shelf during review?
Right. The only issue, I haven't had a chance to review the new policy alert. So,
Well, it's not a policy yet. It's up to the board if it becomes a
I'm saying
policy.
the alert about making the policy specific to library books being pulled, the alert just came out today, unless I'm mistaken. May 16th today.
Yeah.
It just came. I haven't had a chance to review it, and I'd be more comfortable reviewing their alert and comparing it to what's being recommended. I'd be more comfortable knowing the latest information, especially on such a sensitive. It's a very
I just
sensitive
want to be
topic
clear.
for a lot.
This doesn't ban books. It doesn't remove books permanently, but it allows, because currently the way the policy reads is we can't pull the book off the shelf to even review it, because you're still going to have to leave it there to make it available for the students.
I think your concern, if I'm understanding correctly, right, if it's graphic in nature, sexual in nature, and it's very evident that it's describes sexual acts of some kind, then I think we would want to pull it for temporary reasons, because I certainly don't want my children reading anything like that. We wouldn't allow a movie inside the classroom that's rated R, rated X. Why would we allow the book? And I'm not saying that I'm in favor of just banning books, because there's a list of books that need to be banned, right? I'm saying
Well,
if
and that's
there's something
why
that's really evident that's in sexual nature or graphic, then I think we should pull it temporarily until it gets reviewed.
Yeah, and that's really why this came about, is if a community member, a parent, or a teacher or staff member discovers a book that they have a concern with, we really need time to review it without removing it permanently. But Mr. Flores, that's exactly what it is.
My issue is that we are aligned now with the law, and specifically, PICO was specifically about officials removing books from school libraries. That is entirely what it was about.
This isn't removing books, though.
So what would you be doing? According to what you've written, that's what it would be. We haven't reviewed the policy alert from TASB today. I feel like it's a big decision and an important one, and we owe our due diligence to review with even our attorney this new policy with our legal counsel. But I don't.
That's a board decision. So I'm going to let the board make a decision on this.
That makes sense. I mean, okay. Well, the item is up for vote. So are there more comments or discussions on whether we'll approve or not approve this change to local policy?
I'd like to weigh in a little bit. The one thing, just to be clear to the public that doesn't see this, the one change that is on the agenda for tonight, it is simply one sentence. The agenda or the item as it is in the online policy is item EF, local. And it's the very last page, 404. It is under for the guiding principles. It's a three-step process on why the board or why the district may potentially remove move a book from circulation. I'm just going to read the 3 steps, the 3 guiding principles here real quick. 1, a complainant may raise an objection to an instructional resource used in the school's educational program. Despite the fact that professional staff selecting the resources were qualified to make the selection, follow the proper procedure, and adhere to the objectives and criteria for instructional resources set out in this policy. 2, a parent's ability to exercise control over reading, listening, or viewing matter extends only to his or her child. 3, access to a challenged resource may not be restricted during the reconsideration process, except the district may deny access to a child if requested by the child's parent. This is the addition. This may not apply to library books at administrator's discretion. That is the one change to the entire policy, is that sentence. This may not apply to library books at administration's discretion. The reason for that is, as Mr. Gallagher stated, the review process requires all 3 members of the review committee to actually sit down and read the book. The review process will not go forward unless those 3 committee members have all read the book and reviewed it. If we have one copy of the book and it is constantly in circulation, students checking it out, the review process will never happen because those 3 committee members cannot read the book. So the only change in the existing policy would be for administration to temporarily remove that book from circulation while the committee reviews it. Nowhere in the existing policy does it state, even if a committee decides a book doesn't need to be in circulation, if a committee finds it, even if the committee finds it may be sexually explicit or obscene, nowhere do we ever is there a statement that a book would be removed from circulation or removed from the library. It would be put basically on a select list that if parents wanted to allow their students to still access that book, they could. Now, there is in all likelihood that this entire process is potentially semantics, because there is a better than 0 likelihood that next year with the next year's legislation, the Texas legislation will come out with a school district rating system for books. If that happens, and that's, I've heard that from multiple legislatures. If that happens, it would basically be like Mr. Gallagher's talked about in the future, us having a rating system that would allow essentially parents to be able to go in and look at any book in any library that their child may access and basically check yes, no, yes, no, yes, no.
And Mr. Blackwood, one of the things we're doing as a district, because this is an issue that we're seeing pop up across the state, really across the country, is for more transparency, parents next year will have the ability to be notified when their child or kids check out library books, and they'll have access to what books they check out, and it will start a running history at that point. So it's just more transparency for parents.
So the legislature most likely will come up with that rating system. If they do, it'll basically be probably very similar to the movie rating system, or I doubt it'll be as simple as labels on music. Who knows with the legislature? It could be 3 different types of ratings. It could be 47 different kinds of ratings. Politicians, hey, who can figure them out?
And I've actually reached out to our current representative, Jared Patterson, to have a discussion about this to see if we can work up a long-term solution, including some sort of rating system at the state level. What we don't want is for this to turn into an unfunded mandate for local districts and local taxpayers to basically foot the bill to develop a system. We need some support and help at the state level on this.
And I would highly suggest every parent that has this much passion to come before your local school board, please get in touch with your legislatures, because ultimately, I hate to say it, it's not going to be long before they're the ones deciding this issue for you. It's going to be taken out of our hands before long. I'll be honest with you. It's heading that way right now.
President Montemayor. So my concern is, as a board, practice follows the policy, our existing policy. So my question, Mr. Gallagher, is have you done anything under the assumption that this new policy would happen? Has there been a book removed from circulation? Although that's not the current policy, has anything been done that was not already voted on tonight?
No. Are you saying books removed from circulation?
A book removed, so that, tell me what's happened.
Are you saying here in Little Elm ISD?
Yes.
Yeah, we've had several concerns about books, and we do have an informal review process. But to make that happen, that informal review process, this needs to happen.
So we've been doing, and then you said before that how many challenges have been made from the
We've
formal?
had 0 official
And
challenges.
how many informal actions have been taken?
Starting 2 years ago, I think it was, we had, and I don't remember the date, but we've had at least 2 community members come to the school board meeting to talk about concerns about library books.
Has there been any in this year, anyone who has approached the district about a book and there was any action taken about the person's complaint?
Yes, there was a community member that reached out about a concern with some books that contain what this community member described as obscene, sexually explicit material.
And what was the action taken by the district?
We're starting to review these books.
So where are the books as they're being reviewed? Where are the books now?
I don't know where the books are right now. I would imagine they're in the library, but they're in the process of being reviewed. But again, we can't really do anything.
Who are they being reviewed by? Because if there hasn't been a formal process and there's books that are being reviewed,
That's what this informal, which I emailed you about, you asked about it, so I sent you an email about the informal process. That's who's reviewing it. So those people it didn't name names, but it named what that committee was. It's made up of at least 3 people, librarians, that will look at the books and start making a determination on whether they're appropriate. If they're appropriate, then
this ignores the current policy. So there haven't been any formal challenges, but you're in the middle of reviewing the book because someone from the community challenged it. So they weren't put into the formal process for what reason?
Well, and I think, and I can't speak to why they didn't put it through the formal process, but I can tell you this: if a community member brings a book or material forward that may contain obscenities or obscene material, we certainly don't want to ignore it as a district.
We want to follow the policy. Practice should follow policy. That's what we want to do.
And what this does, this allows us to review those books.
So there's 3 issues here. One is that we have a policy that is not being followed because the person could have been directed to follow the policy. So that's one. The other issue is that TASB has issued a policy alert that none of us has had an opportunity to review. The third is that on the one hand, it's being presented to us that there haven't been any formal challenges. Meanwhile, there is a book being challenged and it's not following the formal process. So the transparency there is missing, which pulls for a sensitive issue like this. Our integrity has to be tight. And I'm concerned about what we do for one, we have to do for all. And anyone who has a challenge has to trust us that we're gonna, for every time, we're gonna follow the formal process, which the overarching concern is protection of our district from liability. I mean, if we're following the law, our policies are following the law, then what concern do we have about someone complaining? But right now, we're not actually following the policy that we actually have adopted. We're saying we haven't had any formal challenges, but we are addressing challenges. So
what this allows, though, is when somebody brings forward a book that they believe contains obscene material, it allows us to review that.
There is a Supreme Court case specifically about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying it is literally specifically about that. And the decision was for us, and the policy we have.
It's the board's decision. I'm not going to debate.
That's the issue. The
board's decision.
misalignment. I wasn't here for when the policy was developed, but the thrust of most of our policies has been to protect our district from liability and to, I mean, obviously we want the best for our kids. So us not following the policy, especially on something like
we
this.
are following the policy, Dr. Thompson. Here's
How are we following the policy if someone's challenging a book and we don't follow the existing policy, we follow an informal policy.
No, it's not informal review that is not designed to remove a book permanently. Let me ask you this. If somebody brings something to your opinion or to your attention, if they have a concern about something, and let's say it's obscene material, we have a responsibility to look at that as a district.
We have a responsibility to follow policy. We have students who've reported obscene things, sexual assault. I'm serious.
I know.
So we've had students who've reported sexual assault, and you know what we've done? We've had them follow the procedure.
Yeah.
We have a policy in place so they can follow the procedure for a student, a child.
And Dr. Thompson,
So I'm saying that if we're going
totally
to follow policy and
but
procedure on something that serious,
I'm going to let the board.
Okay, let's bring it back to.
I'm going to let the board
this.
make
So
a
what EF
decision.
Let's bring this back. What this EF local board policy applies, so that we're looking at right now is the informal process, right? So if there a review that is to take place, I mean, there's certain practicalities, right? If a book needs to be reviewed, then someone needs to read it. It cannot be in circulation while it's being reviewed, right? I mean,
Yes, that's correct.
Or are we then committed to buying enough books that are being reviewed to make sure that there's at least one in circulation while there's another one in the review process?
And that's something the board would have to decide. And
so I just want to, because I imagine that the big concern is that one, people are going to say this is just a way to circumvent keeping something off the shelves that we don't want to be on the shelves. And I mean, I certainly don't want to run or wire any Supreme Court, or again, I also have not been able to review the TA policy that came out today. But I do believe there needs to be a practicality of being able to review something if this process is to be followed. So I'm wondering, can this wording be changed instead of, because right now it just says, this may not apply to library books at administration's discretion. That's a very broad brush. So what if it was just, this may not apply while the review process is taking place? I mean, would that fit what the district needs? So, I mean, would that fit what the district needs to edit? Yeah, and is there a time frame for that?
we certainly can do that.
Is there another place in here that does speak to the time frame of this informal process?
It's on the website. I don't know.
I've got to say, I just
timeframe.
reviewed that portion, that change,
Oh,
not the entire.
I'm trying to remember if it was under the informal.
There's not.
Okay.
There's not. And I recommended when we were communicating, I recommended a time frame of 10 to 14 business days so that would be clear. So my other concern to the rest of the board is that I reviewed this and offered some suggestions for clarity. This was on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday last week. Then on today, the new TASB alert came out. So the communication was already made about needing a tighter time frame, about this being very different from what we have because it circumvents the current policy.
Well,
and
can
it
we just
puts us
table
at some
this
risk.
so we make sure we include that wording, the one just during the review process, and then put a time frame to it?
I would ask, the board if they want to do that. I mean, we can add that wording, and as discussed.
Yeah. So, we can approve it with.
Then we'll have 2 additional board members that we included into the discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I make a motion that the item be tabled.
Well, we've already first and seconded on this one, so we just need to vote for it, and if it fails, then we can.
Well, if we can vote to table it and leave the item open until a later meeting, correct?
Well, there is a motion to consider approval.
Right, so I think we need to vote on that one.
Okay.
So all those in favor for making the changes as presented? Okay, all those opposed? Okay, now a motion.
So I'll make the motion then to table this item until a future meeting for future consideration with changes.
I just want to say, there's got to be some discussion prior to us just having it here, right? We need as a team of 8 to have that discussion, hash it out before we come out here and have this
Yeah.
discussion.
Well, our next team of 8 is until August.
August,
Those
yeah.
dates are being discussed. So or do we need to schedule a special meeting? Can this wait till August, or should we do a
That's the
special
board's
meeting?
The motion is to hold it over for a future meeting. It doesn't have to be the next meeting. It's for a future meeting. So, yeah,
I
so-
don't want to have a discussion out here.
Well, we can,
Without really hashing out all the details.
we can agree that the exact timing of it offline. Yeah. Okay, so is there a
You want me to restate? Okay.
So is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of the motion as discussed? Okay. Motion carries.
Do we have time on the June 1st meeting to slip it in there?
It's as much time as you want. We'll make it happen.
That works for me.
I mean, I'm just saying,
Yeah, let's try and get that in there.
It is a workshop, correct? The June 1st?
Workshop, yeah, it's just a workshop.
It's a workshop. So that's before the June board meeting.
it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, so then-
Yeah, so it'll be an open meeting. as well.
Yeah, so it'll be an open meeting. So Mary,
So-
you can join in on the
Yeah.
conversation. So since it'll be a
Yeah.
workshop.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, that's what I want to make sure. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Okay, so any other consent agenda items? All right, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda with item A removed?
I'll need a motion. So moved.
Sorry, I said that and I raised my hand, sorry. So is there a motion to approve that with item A? Okay, is there a second? Second? All those in favor? Thank you very much. All right, I want to take time, I mean, I love the meetings where we start where it's a full room because that usually means there's gonna be a lot of kids involved and recognitions and everything. And that is some of my funnest parts too. They're going to the top 10 lunch is my funnest thing. Friday night football games are great, and having all the kids here at board meetings are so probably on my top list of things to do. Then I also want to thank, our new administration members for being here with us tonight. I look forward to working with you going forward, having lively discussions, and I'm sure those things that you'll be thrown into pretty quickly here. But thank you for coming out tonight. It was a pleasure meeting you, and thank you to everybody else, and especially for everyone. I think there's most people we've had stick around till the end in a very long time. So I want to thank everybody for that. I'll start on my left.
Yeah, it's been a tough 3 years, right? It seems like we keep hoping for the school year to end and hoping that the next year will get better. And I just want to thank all the teachers and all the administration through this year. It was a tough year with teacher shortages, substitute shortages, and everybody chimed in. This is the last week of school, and then we're off to a well-deserved vacation. So again, thank you all. The other item is we had seen some articles recently about 4-day work weeks for teachers. And I believe there's about 15 school districts in the state of Texas that are maybe doing that already. And it's helping from a retention perspective. There's a lot of teachers applying for those positions, and there's a lot of interest in that. So I'd like to see maybe for a future meeting, Mr. Gallagher, if we can maybe, y'all can look at if that's possible. Obviously, we'd have to go to the constituents and find out if there's even an interest from a parent perspective. Obviously, daycare and those kinds of things would be a concern for them, but maybe we could look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's definitely something our team can start looking at studying, because there's multiple different levels that we'd want to look at: the interest, the financial impact. I mean, there might be a financial benefit, maybe a small one, but the academic impact on academics. So yeah, we'll put together, probably won't be the next few meetings, but it's going to take a while to put together a study on that and come back to the board and present what the outlook would be for that.
Perfect. Thank you. And then just one last time, I want to congratulate Mary Watkins on her win. Look forward to having you take a seat up here.
Yeah.
No. Apologize, hold on. I can't write and talk at the same time, so. Thanks, staff, for staying late. Much appreciated. Welcome to our new associates and everyone here. Very glad to have a chance to meet you guys. Also like to consent or give a congratulations to Ms. Watkins. I would also like to thank Mr. Livingston for running a campaign. I'll never say if anyone, whether wins an election or loses an election. Unfortunately, one was a little bit more successful than the other one. Because I think all of us basically win when we do have people that are interested in joining these positions up here. So thank both of you very, very much for putting yourself out there. Other than that, that's me.
Well, I want to, it's summertime for the parents who are watching. Hopefully you will use this time during the summer to practice your math. I just encourage all students to think about that the fall is coming, and parents to think about that the fall is coming, and keeping those math skills brushed up is very, 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 very important. And I see our new director of curriculum smiling. The math is a big deal to me. The other thing I want to say is that tonight, I think, is our last.
No. I'll be here in June.
You'll be here in June?
Yep.
Beginning of it.
The beginning. That's right. The beginning. I gave hot wings to Dan for celebrating his many years of service. And there was a few for him to share, but I don't know what happened to the hot wings.
They're sitting right there.
They're sitting, okay.
I'm sharing them with my family.
With your And I wanted to acknowledge Officer Hollyfield. 2 years ago, we did the first ever and probably never again curbside car parade because of the class of 2020 in the middle of COVID, having so much, lost in their graduation celebration. It was exhausting, but he helped us make sure that happened. This was before I was actually on the board. And my Facebook reminder came up today, but that is not why he got the cake. The cake was because he's just been a place of solace for me. I don't know if you guys have been watching the different school board meetings across the nation, that sometimes things get out of hand, and he has definitely kept things in our school board meetings very, very much in line. And I appreciate that. I have a family of law enforcement officials. My sister's a homicide detective in Dallas, and I appreciate what you guys do. So I went to he got a cake. Now, and he also had enough to share. I'm just saying, people got treats tonight with enough to share. I don't think any sharing has happened, but they had enough to share. So, Key, I want to congratulate Ms. Mary Watkins, Girl Scout Gold Award winner, coming up here to serve with us, and also acknowledge Dr. Livingston for a great campaign. It's definitely not for the weak at heart, and I'm very excited to have you join us Can't wait to get you a canvas Wednesday. We do the canvassing Wednesday, and then in June, get you up here. So congratulations and welcome.
All right, board members, thank you all very much. What a great night celebrating our students and, our staff that were here. So thank you all. But on the library books, I look forward to that conversation. And of course, the direction of the board. We're going to follow that. Is something that's happening across the state. And if you've seen board meetings where people are coming and reading excerpts from some of these books that are very graphic, very obscene. Fortunately, we haven't had that here in Little ISD, and board members in other communities are telling them to stop, not to continue reading it, but yet those books are on the shelf for kids to read. And I think that's something that this board is going to have to discuss in detail and figure out a solution for that.
Is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. Is there a second? Second. All right, all those in favor? All right, motion carries at 9:40.